Okay, so listener, you're diving into the wild world of house hunting. It can feel like everyone's speaking a secret language, right? I've been there.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this deep dive, especially with that real estate with this podcast you sent over. We're breaking it all down.
Buying a house, it's huge.
Yeah.
We want you to find a place that's not just a house, but like really your home.
Totally. And one thing that jumped out from Real Estate Riches was like needs versus wants. Sounds basic, right?
Hmm.
Bedrooms, bathrooms. But is it really that simple? What do you think?
It's so easy to get caught up, you know. You forget the little things that actually make a difference in how you live there.
Right. Like, picture this. You walk into this amazing kitchen, gorgeous, but then you realize it's totally cut off from everything else. If you're someone who loves having people over, suddenly those dinner parties aren't so fun.
Exactly. Or think about open layouts. They're everywhere now, but will people still love them in 10 years? Maybe future buyers will want those separate spaces, like a home office or something. It's about thinking long term, even if you're not planning to move anytime soon.
Ooh, that's smart. Tastes change, lifestyles change. You don't want to end up with a place that doesn't work anymore.
Right. And speaking of things that can make or break your experience, let's talk location.
Okay, so you found a house online. Pictures look great, but is it the right location for you?
That's the million-dollar question. Real Estate Riches had some solid advice. Schools were a big one. They even mentioned this website, greatschools.org, for ratings and all that. But what really stuck with me was whether schools even matter for your situation, you know?
Huge difference if you're thinking long-term family versus like just an investment property.
Exactly. And then there's safety. Safe means different things to different people. Bustling city life or quiet suburbs. Which one feels more you?
Oh, and don't be fooled by those charming little details online. I almost bought a place once based purely on its proximity to this cute coffee shop.
Okay.
Turns out it was right next to a fire station. Those sirens weren't exactly the relaxing morning coffee vibe I was going for.
Oh, yeah. And while we're talking about the neighborhood, Real Estate Riches made a good point about future development, that up-and-coming area. It could be amazing or under construction for the next 10 years.
Nobody wants to wake up to jackhammers every day. So we've covered location, neighborhood vibes. Time to get into the nitty-gritty. What secrets is the house itself hiding? Time to play house whisperer.
I like it. Okay, first up, the non-negotiables. Roof, foundation, plumbing, electrical. Big stuff. Real Estate Riches was adamant about not skipping inspections.
It's like going to the doctor when you're feeling fine. You never know what's lurking beneath the surface.
Totally. They made a great point about that inspection report. It's not just a formality, it's your chance to negotiate, ask for repairs, or even walk away if it's worse than you thought.
They said it best. A fresh coat of paint can hide a world of problems. And speaking of getting the full picture, what about checking out the neighborhood vibe beyond just the house itself?
So important. You can always repaint, but changing your neighbors? Not so easy.
Truth. What were their tips for really getting a feel for the neighborhood?
Visiting at different times of day is key. That quiet street might be a nightmare during rush hour. They even suggested talking to the neighbors, but with a grain of salt. You know, are they being real or just trying to sell you on the area?
Ooh, sneaky.
Huh.
It's like neighborhood espionage. Okay, before we go full spy mode, let's talk money. The not-so-fun but essential part.
Right, and Real Estate Riches did not hold back. Don't let the excitement make you broke.
They were big on those hidden costs that sneak up. Property taxes, insurance, HOA fees.
About those HOA fees, by the way, they're basically for the upkeep of shared stuff, landscaping, pools, all that. They can be totally different depending on where you are, so factor that in.
Otherwise, that dream pool could turn into a financial nightmare.
Exactly. Speaking of finances, they really stressed getting pre-approved for a mortgage before you even start looking seriously.
So it's not just about knowing what you can borrow, but it gives you power when you're making an offer.
100%. Sellers take you way more seriously. It shows you're not messing around.
Okay, listener, imagine this. You found the house. Finances are good, ready to make an offer. But hold on. Real Estate Riches wants you to put on your future thinking hat. Think about resale value, even if you're staying put for a while.
This was interesting. They said, imagine yourself in 5 years, maybe ready for something new. What would make this house attractive to buyers then?
Smart. So what do they say to look out for? Thinking about future resale. I bet open floor plans came up again.
Of course. What's trendy now might be outdated later. And they also said to look beyond just the house itself. What are the bigger market trends doing? Interest rates? How desirable the neighborhood is overall?
So even with the best house on the block, if the market tanks.
It could impact you big time, no matter what.
Okay, listener, that was LRT. We covered so much ground, but don't worry, we're not done yet.
Next time, we're going full-on detective mode. We're talking red flags. Those signs that something's not quite right.
We're back, listener, and ready to put on our skeptical hats this time. Because as exciting as house hunting is, gotta watch out for those red flags, those little things that make you wonder, is this too good to be true?
It's like we're back to playing detective again, right?
Exactly. What's the first clue we should be looking for? Detective expert speaker.
Real Estate Riches had a bunch, but the one that really stuck with me, drastically low price, like way lower than other similar houses in the area. That's when those alarm bells should be going off.
Yeah, it's tempting, right? You think you found the deal of the century. But there's usually a reason for that.
Right. Maybe the seller's in a rush. Totally legit, sometimes. But it could also mean they just want to get rid of a problem. Real Estate Riches use the example of a foundation issue. Huge headache. And not always easy to spot right away.
So that bargain could cost you a ton in repairs later on. Yikes.
Exactly. And speaking of sellers acting a little shady, another red flag. An overly eager seller, pushing for a super fast close, not giving you time to really check things out.
Like that friend who's always trying to rope you into a timeshare, right? Like, what's the rush?
Exactly. Now, sometimes there are good reasons for a quick sale, but better safe than sorry. It's like Real Estate Riches said, take your time, do your due diligence.
Hold on. Due diligence, that sounds kind of like official. What does that even mean for us regular folks?
Oh, sure. Basically, it just means really investigating, like actually being a detective, gathering clues so you don't end up with any nasty surprises later.
Love it. Time to channel our inner Sherlock Holmes.
Exactly. And speaking of trusting your gut, Real Estate Riches reminded us we all have that little voice for a reason.
Totally. If something feels off, even if you can't explain why, don't ignore it.
Right. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions, get those documents, even a second opinion on that inspection report, you know?
Because at the end of the day, it's your future home we're talking about. It's your investment. Speaking of which, remember how Real Estate Riches mentioned neighborhood red flags? Like things that aren't about the house itself, but the area?
Oh, right. They were saying even the most gorgeous house, if the neighborhood's not a good fit, it can really change how much you enjoy living there.
So what kind of things should we be on the lookout for? Neighborhood red flag-wise, I mean.
They talked about really using your eyes,
Yeah.
noticing things. Like, are there a bunch of vacant properties? It could be a sign the neighborhood's not doing so hot. And that could mean your property value goes down, too.
Oof, yeah, not good. What else?
Even little things, like, is there trash everywhere? Are the other houses well kept or looking kind of run down?
Makes sense. A neighborhood that doesn't look like people care about it. Probably not going to be the most welcoming place to live.
Right. Real Estate Riches said even those little details can be signs of bigger problems, like not enough investment in the community, or even safety concerns.
Okay, so it's not just about the house itself, it's the whole package.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right community. Speaking of, didn't Real Estate Riches talk about chatting up potential neighbors?
They did. And this time, it's not just about getting the inside scoop on the best pizza place, although that is important. It's more about like asking those strategic questions.
Oh, like what? Give us the cheat sheet.
Well, they said to try stuff like, how long have you lived here? Or have there been any big changes in the neighborhood lately? Just kind of get a feel for their experience.
I bet you learn a lot that way.
You do. Real Estate Riches also said to listen to what they don't say, too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
are they hesitant about certain questions? Do they seem like their answers are rehearsed or something? Those could be red flags.
Okay, so basically, neighborhood espionage 101. But seriously, paying attention to those little things can tell you a lot. Before we send everyone off to do their spy training, any last thoughts about red flags before we move on?
I think the biggest takeaway is just trust yourself. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, do your research, and don't be afraid to just walk away if it doesn't feel right.
Okay, so we've talked about trusting our gut, but I think it's time to bring it all home. We covered so much, from those needs versus wants to like basically becoming neighborhood skies. It's a lot.
It really is. And that's something Real Estate Riches emphasize too. It's not a race. It's a journey, finding the right place.
So true. Taking your time, asking questions, doing your research. But when it comes down to it, what's the most important thing?
It's about finding the right house for you. Not like the perfect house. That doesn't exist. But a house that really fits your life, how you live, what you need.
I love that. Because this is about more than just, how many bedrooms or what kind of countertops you have. It's about finding a place where you can really see yourself living your life.
Absolutely. And sometimes that means walking away, even from a deal that sounds good on paper. If it doesn't feel right, it's okay to walk away. Trust that instinct.
Yes. You've done the work. You honed your detective skills. Now you got to trust that little voice.
And remember, it's a big decision, but it's also exciting. It should be fun. Enjoy the process.
That's so important. Don't get so bogged down in the details that you forget to have fun with it. Look around, explore, let yourself fall in love with a few houses along the way.
Who knows? You might even find a place you never expected to love.
Exactly. Well, listener, we've come to the end of our deep dive, but your adventure is just beginning. We're so excited for you as you start this journey. Remember all the tips, trust your gut, and go find that dream home.
Happy house hunting.